What's up, YouTube? This is Brandon from Dorks, and I'm going to bring you a Atraxa Poison deck profile today. So I'm just going to kind of go through my deck, show you what I play, kind of give you some insight into why I play those cards. And yeah, so just to start it off, Atraxa, Prider's Voice. She is Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, and Lifelink. And at the beginning of the my end step, she proliferates. And to start off my creatures, my 1-drops, so I have Venerated Rot Priest, Scrove, Defector Mite. Those are my 2 1-drop creatures. So Scrove, he has Toxic 1. So I can pay a Phyrexian white and tap him. I can choose a color, and another target creature that I control gets Toxic 1 and Hexproof from that color until the end of turn. And Venerated Rock Priest has Toxic 1, and whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, your opponent gets a poison counter. Well, target opponent, so I can actually choose. Okay, that's my 1-drop creatures. My 2-drop creatures will be a Mirror Convert, a Cankerbloom, a Bloom Tender, Finn the Fangbearer, a Thrumming Bird, a Blighted Agent. I'm going to move these around so you guys can see them. A Plague Stinger, a Voidwing Hybrid. So those are my 2-drops. Bloom Tender, it's a 1 and a green, and it taps for each color of among permanents that I control. So that's good in a 4-color deck. If I have all color permanents on the field, she'll tap for 4. So that's good. Good mana dork. I have Finn the Fangbearer, which is a 1 in the green, has Death Touch. It's a 1/3, and then whenever a creature that I control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. Thrumming Bird for 1 in the blue. It's a flyer, 1/1. Whenever Thrumming Bird deals combat damage to a player, I can proliferate. So I can add on poison counters. I can add counters to permanents that I control. Really anything that I choose. I have Blighted Agent here for 1 in the blue. It has Infect, and it can't be blocked. It's a 1/1. Voidwing Hybrid is a blue and a black for a flyer, with Toxic 1, 2/1. And then whenever I proliferate, I can return it from my graveyard to my hand. So a little bit of recursion. I have a Mirror Convert. It's 2 generic for a Toxic 1. I can tap it, pay 2 life, and I can add a color, add a mana of any color. So it's a mana dork. I have Cankerbloom for 1 in a green. It has 1. I can sack it. I can destroy a target artifact. I can destroy an enchantment, or I can proliferate. So it has a little bit of utility. I can, multiple different options. I have Plague Stinger. It's 1 in the black, flyer with Infect. It's a 1/1, so it's good. It can get over ground creatures, hit for Infect pretty early. All right, that's my 2 mana creatures. Moving to 3 mana creatures. Atraxa Skitterfang, Bloated Contaminator, Evolution Sage, and the Ecor Rats. So Ecor Rats is really like a star player in this game, in this deck. So 1 generic, 2 black, has Infect, and when it ETBs, each player gets a poison counter. So it's good, setting the ball early. Everyone gets a poison counter, and I can just start proliferating from there. Atraxa Skitterfang, 3 generic. It enters the battlefield with 3 oil counters on it, and at the start of my combat, I can basically remove a counter and add some kind of evasion to my creature in the form of Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, or Lifelink. Good thing in a proliferate deck, I can keep proliferating that, so every combat I'm going to get some kind of form of evasion to try and get poison through. So I have Bloated Contaminator for 2 in a green, Trample, Toxic 1. And whenever Bloated Contaminator deals combat damage to a player, I can proliferate. That's also a 4/4, which trample, so you know it's usually going to get in for some damage here and there to get some proliferates off. I have Evolution Stage for 2 and a green. It has landfall, so whenever a land ETBs, I can proliferate. So those are my 3 CMC creatures. We're going to move to the 4. So we have Azuri, Stalker of Spheres. We have Sereth, the Viper's Fang. We have Tukuthul, Inquiry Dominus. So Azuri, when he ETBs, I can pay 3 and then proliferate twice. And then he also has another ability. Whenever I proliferate, I can draw a card. That's 2 generic, a green and a blue for a 3/3. I have Sereth. So she is 2 and 2 green. She gives my other tapped creatures that I control Death Touch, and she gives untapped creatures that I control, other untapped creatures I control Hexproof. I can pay 1 and tap her to untap another target creature that I control. And Tukuthul, 2 and 2 blue. He's a flyer, 3/5. If I would proliferate, I proliferate twice. So that's cool. Double on my proliferates, add more poison quicker. And I could pay 1 and 2 blue Phyrexian. I can remove 3 counters from among permanents from other artifacts, creatures, planeswalkers that I control, and I could put an indestructible counter on them. So those are my 4s. Move to my 5. I have 1. I have Skithrix, the Blight Dragon. So 3 generic, 2 black. He's a flyer with Infect, 4/4. I can pay a black, and I can give him haste until the end of turn, and I can pay 2 black to regenerate him. So he's really nice. If no one has flyers on board, you can, if you have the 6 mana, you could play him with haste. You can, you know, swing in for a nice 4 infect. You know, it's really good. All right, my 6 mana creatures. My only one is Vornclex, Monstrous Raider. So 4, 2 green. He's a trample haste. If I would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, I would put twice as many of those instead. So he's really nice. You know, you put a poison on somebody, they get 2. Goes really good with Tukuthul and my proliferates. Also, if an opponent would put permanents or counters on permanents, they get those permanent counters rounded down. So it's good for good against like 1/1 counter decks or anything like that. Okay, that's my 6. So I'll move to my 7. Only one is Tyrannix Rex. Spell can't be countered, has trampled, toxic 4, ward 4, and haste. He's 8/8, so he's really nice to come in, finish games. You know, hold your opponents off, keep them at bay. He's really good. So I'll move to my highest CMC creature, which is a 12. It's Blightsteel Colossus. He has trample, infect, indestructible. If he would be put into the graveyard from anywhere, I'd put him in my library and shuffle instead. So yeah, he's 11/11 infector, indestructible, trample. He's getting in for damage. He's gonna hit for poison. So really good card here. All right, I'm gonna move into my artifacts here. So Mox Amber. I have a Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, Everflowing Chalice, Arcane Signet. Oh, wrong. Okay. So these are my 0 and 1 CMC artifacts. So Everflowing Chalice is technically a 0, but I'm always going to cast it for 2 for the multi-kicker to put a counter on it. And it's good in a proliferate deck. Just keep adding counters on it. It's going to tap for a lot eventually. Mox Amber, tap for any color of legendaries I control. That's a 0. Mana Crypt, 0 generic. Everyone knows what that does. Taps for 2, can damage me on my upkeep. Soul Ring, pay 1 for 2 mana. Everyone knows that one too, of course. Okay. Moving my 2 CMC. The only one I have is the Arcane Signet. Taps for 1 color of anything in my commander's color identity. So it's really good. My 3 CMC will be Chromatic Lantern, a Mithril Coat, and a Glistening Sphere. So Chromatic Lantern is a basically just taps for one color of anything, and it makes all of my lands tap for any color. So it's a good mana fixer in a 4-color deck. It's really good. Mithril Coat, Flash, Indestructible. When it ETBs, I can attach it to a target legendary creature that I control. So it's really good in a bind. I can flash it in to protect Atraxa or any other legendary creature I control for just a 3 instead of paying the 3 equip on top of that. So it's really good. And then I have Glistening Sphere, pay 3, but it enters tapped. When it enters, I proliferate, and then it taps for 1 mana of any color. And then it also has Corrupted on there, so if an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, I can tap it to add 3 mana of any one color. So it's really good mana rock. I'll move into the 4. Only one is the One Ring. It's a staple in any deck, pretty much. You play it, you get protection from everything for a turn, and then it's just gonna tap and just draw you a bunch of cards. All right, I'm gonna move into my 1 CMC instance. So I have a Noxious Revival, Mystical Tutor. I have a Swords to Plowshares, Enlightened Tutor, a Worldly Tutor, a Vampiric Tutor, a Silence, and a Tainted Strike. So tutors, pretty self-explanatory. Pay a mana. I can search for anything of the respective, what they say. So artifact, enchantment, creature, any card. Very good cards. Silence, 1 white. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn. That's really good to hold off if you're about to win game on your turn or something. You could just cast on an upkeep or something. Ensure that no one can cast anything. So that's very good. Noxious Revival. I could pay a green, or it's a Phyrexian green, so I could pay 2 life for a green. I could put target cards from a graveyard on top of my library, so that's good recursion. I also have the Mystical Tutor. That's a good for, I can grab an instant or a sorcery for 1 blue and put it on top. Swords to Plowshares, 1 white. I can exile a target creature, and that creature's controller gets life equal to its power. And then I have Tainted Strike for 1 black. I can target creature gets +1/+0, and it gains infect until the turn. So, you know, if either me or an opponent is swinging on another opponent for big damage, I could pay 1 black, put infect on it, and potentially kill that player in 1 swing with not even my swing. So that's a good card. Those are my 1 mana instants. We'll move to the 2. So I have Experimental Augury, Prologue to Phyresis, Cyclonic Rift, Infectious Bite, Corrupted Resolve. That's all for the 2 CMC. So Infectious Bite, 1 in a green, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to another target creature that I don't control. And then each opponent gets a poison counter. So it's good, free poison. It's also removal, usually, unless the creature's got a big butt, bigger than 4. Corrupted Resolve, that's 1 in a blue. I can basically counter target spell if the opponent is poisoned. I have Experimental Augury for 1 in a blue. Look at the top 3. I can pick a card, put it in my hand, and put the other 2 on the bottom, and then I proliferate. So that's really good. Basically like a Brainstorm or something with a proliferate tacked onto it. Prologue to Phyresis. Each opponent gets a poison counter, and I draw a card, so that's very good for 1 in a blue. And Cyclonic Rift. Everyone knows what that does. 1 in a blue. You're usually going to cast it for its overload cost, but it's going to bounce all permanents that aren't yours to your the hand, and or if you just pay the 1 in the blue, you get one permanent bounce. But those are my 2. We're going to go to the 3. So I have Fierce Guardianship, Beast Within, Vraska's Fall, Teferi's Protection, and Anguish Unmaking. Teferi's Protection, great card. Everyone knows what that does as well. Phases all your permanents out until the end of turn, or I'm sorry, till your next upkeep, and then exiles after that. Anguish Unmaking, it's good removal. Exile target permanent, and then you lose 3 life. Fierce Guardianship, 2 in a blue, has the potential to be a free spell if you control your commander. You can counter target non-creature spell. Beast Within, 2 in a green, destroy target permanent, its controller creates a 3/3 green beast token creature. And the Vraska's fall, 2 and a black. Each opponent gets a poison counter. And then has to sacrifice a creature. So that's good. For the 4 CMC, I have Deadly Rollick and Achroma's Will. So Deadly Rollick, it's another card that has potential to be a free spell if you control your commander. I can exile a target creature. And then Achroma's Will, 3 and a white. I could choose 1. If you control a commander, as I cast a spell, or I could choose both. Creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, and double strike until end of turn. And then creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from all colors until end of turn. So if I control my commander, I can choose both of those. If I don't, I can choose 1. But both very good effects. All right, so I'm going to go into my sorceries. These are the 2 CMC. I have Demonic Tutor, Drown and Ecor. Those are my only 2. So Demonic Tutor, search for a card, put it in your hand. Drown and Ecor, 1 or black. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn, and then I proliferate. All right, 3 CMC sorceries. I have Infectious Inquiry, Phyresis Outbreak, and Cultivate. Infectious Inquiry, I draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, and each opponent gets a poison counter. So another free poison spell with draw 2 tacked on, great. Phyresis Outbreak, each opponent gets a poison counter, and then their creatures get a -1/-1 for each poison counter that they have. So it's a potential board wipe if they have enough, and a free poison spell as well. And I have Cultivate, 2 and a green. Search your library for 2 basic land cards, put 1 on the field, tapped, and then 1 into your hand. So good ramp. Move to the 4 CMC sorceries, which I have 2. I have Tezzeret's Gambit, so I can pay green and a blue Phyrexian. I can draw 2 cards and then proliferate. And then Triumph of Hordes, 2 and 2 green. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain Trample and Infect until end of turn. So it's a potential game ender. If I have enough creatures on board and I have enough power to give them Infect and deal poison, it's a nice game ender. So my last sorcery that I have is a usually going to get cast for 7s, 2 white and then 5 generic. So I gain X life. I create X 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature tokens with Toxic 1, and they can't block. So it's a nice board, one-sided board wipe. Board wipes everything and then gives you 5 tokens. Okay, I'm going to go to my enchantments. These are the 3 CMC. So Rhystic Study, Norn's Decree, and Ghostly Prison. Rhystic Study, everyone knows that. Whenever opponent casts a spell, they can pay 1. If they don't, you draw a card. Norn's Decree, 2 and a white. Whenever a creature an opponent controls deal combat damage to you, they get a poison counter. And then whenever a player attacks, if they're attacking a player that is poisoned, they draw a card. So it deters people from attacking me, and it gives incentive to my opponents to attack each other. So it's another good stacks card. Ghostly Prison, 2 and a white. Creatures can't attack me unless their controller pays 2 generic for each creature that is attacking me. So it's also another good stacks. Keeps my opponents at bay while I proliferate, add more poison onto the board, and yep. Okay, so I'm going to move on to my 4 CMC enchantment, which is Smothering Tithe. Everyone also knows what that card does. Whenever an opponent would draw a card, they can pay 2. If they don't, I'll create a treasure token. Move to the 5 CMC. I have Inexorable Tide. Sorry, so whenever I would proliferate, I just proliferate an additional time. So it's also very, or no, sorry. Whenever I cast a spell, I would proliferate. So with having a low CMC deck, casting a lot of spells, you can really get a lot of proliferates off. And then I have, move on to my 1 Planeswalker. I have a Vraska of Betrayal Sting. So 4, a black, and a Phyrexian black. She has completed, so if I pay the Phyrexian black, she comes in with 2 less loyalty counters. but her 0 ability is I draw a card, lose a life, and then proliferate. So that's very good. -2 is target creature becomes a treasure artifact with tap, sack it, add 1 mana of any color. And the -9, I can, if the target player has fewer than 9 poison counters, I give them the difference in poison counters. Basically, I just give them 9 poison counters. So very, very good card. Very, very good. All right, move on to my land package. So first, I have 4 shocks. So I have Godless Shrine, Hallowed Fountain, Temple Garden, and Water Grave. So all of these come in, I can tap them if I want to, pay no life, or I can pay 2 life, make them come in untapped, and they're searchable. So very good lands right here. All right, I'm gonna move into my non-basics. So I have 4 depletion lands. I have the blue one, the white one, the black one, and green one, black one. So they enter the battlefield tapped with 2 depletion counters on them. And then they tap for 2 of their respective colors, so black, green, white, and blue. And then I remove 1 counter from them. A good thing about a proliferate deck, though, I will be able to proliferate the counters on these lands and keep them around permanently. So basically just tap them for 2 all the time. Very good in a Atraxa deck. All right, some other non-basics. Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Path of Ancestry, Sandstep Citadel, Command Tower taps for anything in my command color's identity. Sandstep is a Triumph, taps for a white, black, and a green. Exotic Orchard taps for a color that a land that an opponent could produce, and then Path of Ancestry taps for anything in my commander's color identity. Enters tapped, and then whenever I use that mana to cast something, I can scry 1. All right, so I have some fetches here. I have Mirrored Landscape, Fabled Passage, and Prismatic Vista. Mirrored Landscape gets me, enters tapped, it taps for a colorless, and I can pay 2, tap, sack it, and then search for 2 of a specific color. They have to be the same type. I have Fabled Passage. I can tap it, sack, search for a basic land of any kind, and then if I had control 4 or more lands, it comes in untapped. And then Prismatic Vista, I can pay a life, tap it, search, and get any basic land. So good fetches. All right, some more non-basics. I have Karn's Bastion, Rogue's Passage, the Seed Core, and a Bojuka Bog. So Bojuka Bog's good. It's graveyard hate. Enters tapped, but it's worth it for the graveyard hate. Taps for a black. I have Karn's Bastion. Taps for a colorless. I can pay 4, tap it, and I can proliferate. So having proliferate staple onto a land is always very good in an Atraxa deck. Rogue's Passage. I can tap it to add 1 colorless, or I can pay 4, tap it, and target creature can't be blocked this turn. So it's good if I have a big infector, a big creature on board, pay 4 and it can't be blocked. So that's really good. And then I have the Seed Core, so it taps for a colorless, or it can tap for a color of, or a mana of any color for a Phyrexian spell. Creature spell, sorry. And then if opponent is corrupted, I can tap it, and target 1/1 creature gets +2/+1 until the end of turn. All right, and then here's my basic land package. I have 2, 3, 4 plains. 2, 3, 4, 5 forests. 1, 2, 3 swamps. And I have 4 islands. Pretty decent number for each. Swamps might look a little low, but I make up for it in non-basics and other producers. But yep, this has been my my deck profile for Atraxa Poison. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Give me some suggestions, some kind of insight into maybe your Atraxa poison deck, maybe some tips. Those would be appreciated. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video for today. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.